you find that they look like the same.
Not necessarily tribal or regional.
Because I have said that.
Welcome back and thanks for joining us. We now move straight to the newspaper review for this morning. As it's a tradition with us, every morning we will start with the Daily Trust. And the front page of the Daily Trust is dedicated to the situation in Gaza. And the kicker here is war on Gaza. UN Secretary General accuses Israel of violating international humanitarian law. With the riders, says we must oppose anti-Semitism, anti-Muslim bigotry. Israel ambassador calls for Gature's resignation. And Israel police shut down Al-Iskar mosque. You'll find there a very emotional picture there of a Palestinian man as he mourns residents, as he mourns during a resident search for people trapped in the debris after Israeli airstrike on the Al-Shati refugee camp yesterday. Two other stories: Kogi Bayelsa Imo governorship poll, INEC chair raises alarm over violence. You find the details of that on page 11. MTN ordered to pay 57.5 billion tax default to the federal government. This MTN money is beginning to look like the Abacha loot that keeps coming every time. It never ended. Two other stories: elder statesman Adamu Fika dies at 90. Moving on to the belt, beneath the front page picture, how banditry forced Zamfara residents out of their homes. You want the details of that, you open up to page 23. Senate defends exotic cars for members, says Nigeria road is bad. Well, bandit raid Kaduna mosque, gunned down imam and worshippers. And Lagos doctor bags life jail for defiling wife's knees. A medical doctor for that matter. That's it on the front page of the Daily Trust.
All right, let's take a look at the Nation newspaper this morning. From the top of the page there, it says, U.S. court rejects request for FBI's report on Tinubu. You'll find this on page 5 of the newspaper. Land racketeering also rocks the FCTA. You find this on page 5, where it says that the fake firms get the collection or allocation rather. Beside that, you see EFCC chair orders staff members to declare assets, and Senate defends 160 million naira SUVs for National Assembly members. You find this on page 6. Now, this is something that we need to talk about. The major story on the Nation's newspaper carries federal government unfolds forex, tax, jobs, investment policies. It says the 260 taxes to be shared to single or slashed to single digit. Merging of the BDCs, forex apps, dealers into official FX market. Below the master, it says that apply for the police job. Okay, there is a vacancy for a police job, saying FAAC saves about 289 billion naira from September revenue. Below there, you'd see, below the lead story, you'd see oil thieves deploy CCTV and mortar launchers along pipeline routes. Beside that one, you'd see Keredolu receives Sanwo-Olu, Makinde, Abiodun and Oyebanji. Aidatiwa writes to the chief judge. Below the belt there, it says Clark 6 exclusion of Abia, Imo, Ondo from NDDC. Now, these are some of the stories on the front page of the Nation this morning.
Interesting developments there.
Indeed.
It's more like saying those states are no longer oil producing. But let me see how that goes. Moving on to the Nigerian News Direct. The major story there, Senate to probe 11.35 trillion spent on repairs in 13 years. That's talking about the moribund refinery. This is getting close to how much Dangote spent in building a brand new one. Interesting Nigeria. And to other stories, 160 million SUVs, lawmakers deserves it because of the maintenance and bad road. This is coming from the Senate President. Oyetola targets 24 to 48 hours cargo clearance at port. FAC splits 903 billion between FG, states and local government. Nigeria now home for investment of tech startup. This is coming from the minister. Antonio Elumelu proposes increase in capital base of life insurance companies to 20 billion and non-life to 30 billion. Shawolu commissions vehicle assembly plant in Lagos as first 2,000 cars hits market. That's it on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct.
All right, let's take a look at first news front page, where it says Nigerian economy will bounce back soon, Tinubu assures Nigerians. Below the headmaster, it says British envoy expresses concern over Imo, Bayelsa and Kogi elections. Tax reforms, federal government to streamline over 200 taxes to less than 10. AFCC chairman orders staff to declare their assets. Well, that's a good move right there. Election petition, rule of law threatened once people lose faith in judiciary. That's according to OB. The lead story there says reps summon CBN governor for lifting forex ban on toothpicks and others. Senate justifies exotic vehicles for members, says that Nigerian roads are bad. At the belt there, we see 189 fake companies operating in Abuja. That's according to CAC's finding. And in Kaduna, bandits raid Kaduna mosques and gun down imam and worshippers. Now, these are some of the stories on the first newspaper today.
All right, and to the Nigerian Tribune, a number of those stories we have taken from other platforms. Senate justifies purchase of 160 million SUVs, where the rider says Nigerians should examine lifestyle of ministers. So it's more like we are not the only ones. There are so many of us living this baby boy life. You have to look at the other people. Interesting way of defending that humongous amount at a time when we're asking everybody to tighten their belts. They are releasing their own belt in their own case. To other stories, Odua Investment moves to revolutionize digital education, and Southwest launches Defined project. And Southwest governors visit Akeredolu in Ibadan. Nigeria to vaccinate 7.7 million girls against leading cause of cervical cancer. And Clark to Tinubu amend NDDC Act to exclude Imo, Abia, Ondo as non-Niger Delta states. Interesting. We'll see how that goes. That's it on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune.
The court orders a delay printing of sensitive materials in Imo, Kogi, Bayelsa gubernatorial polls. That's according to INEC. Now, this is a major story on the Daily Independent this morning. The writers there says that violence threatening conduct of election in 3 states, and parties urge INEC to use poll to deal with confidence deficit. You'll find this major story on the Daily Independent page of 29. Now below there you'd see reps summons CBN governor over lifting FX ban on toothpicks. Others, you find this on page 29. Sanwo-Olu inaugurates automobile assembly plant in Lagos. You find this on page 29 as well. CAC uncovers 189 fake companies defrauding Nigerians. Now, we spoke about this, we find this on page 6, and I can't wait for us to dive into how much fake companies have been avoiding the payment of tax in the country. Tinubu's tax administrators mull single-digit collection strategy and may seek legislative backing to overhaul the sector. Alleged the P&ID scam, EFCC opens case against fleeing Britain and James Nolan. You find this on page 6. Now, you talked about this earlier, saying they need to follow up on the people that are involved in this fraud. All right, there's a pictorial there of Akeredolu, the governor of Ondo, Seyi Makinde, governor of Oyo, Biodun Oyebanji, governor of Ekiti, during their meeting. Below the pictorial there, we have the Senate justifies purchase of SUVs for lawmakers and urges Nigerians to focus on ministers. The belt there says FAAC shares 903.480 billion naira to federal government, the states, local governments for September. You find this on page 6. At the top of the page there, it says Senate probes 11.35 trillion spent on refineries in 13 years to questions Petroleum Resources Ministry, NUPRC, NNPCL, and BPE. Why I want Tinubu to remove Abia, Imo, Ondo from NDDC by Clark, and urges him to publish forensic audit reports on agency. Now, these are some of the stories on the Daily Independence this morning.
All right, those are the papers we'll be bringing to you at this time. Now, to take a deep dive into some of the issues that made the front pages, we now have joining us in the studio. I'm not sure whether to call him Allergy this morning, but Mr. Ben Sherman, it's a regular here in the studio, former director of news at the Voice of Nigeria. It's a pleasure to see you again this morning. Smiling, of course.
Thank you very much. Maybe you call me a middle statesman.
I'm not sure. It doesn't appear like the city boy economy is getting to you at all.
You see, sometimes you have to just keep moving.
Oh, that's right.
And you know one thing with the Nigerians, tomorrow is always better than yesterday. You know.
Yes,
but we want tomorrow to be better than just yesterday. Not yesterday should be better than today.
As Bishop Kuka would always say, may we not always talk about the good old days. All right, the papers seem to be touching on a lot of issues this morning, some dramatic, some very serious humanitarian crisis, as we have in the case of Zamfara and the situation in Gaza. But permit me this morning to start with the revelation by INEC with regards to the off-cycle election in Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa. The courts keep giving judgments, and we have just 2 weeks to this election. And today we'll publish finalists, then we'll do another final of final, and then final of final of final. Are you sure we are going to have the elections in Imo, Kogi, and Bayelsa?
You know, the great thing about Nigeria is the fact that constantly we just say, go to the court, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, when seriously some people will say, all eyes on the judiciary. But on a very lighter mood, people will just say, go to the court. It's like, let's go, and it's like, it's a place for wasting time. So it's also time for the judiciary to mark its feet very well. Sometimes when a court would give this kind of a judgment within 2 weeks to election, and you said thou shalt not, and everybody would have to obey, you have to look at the heartbeat of the nation. You have to look at the heartbeat of this country, of these states where you have these off-cycle elections. Would there be some violence if such things happen? You know, and when you put INEC under very tight schedule, time, it says a lot. So I think that the National Judicial Council too should be looking at some of these pronouncements by judges. A situation where sometimes it's like we put, democracy in jeopardy. What if this election goes on and you just, okay, you can also go to court. The election will go on, so to speak. So I think that INEC should quickly, as a matter of urgency, go to seek for a vacation of this court judgment by going to a higher one. It's not the Supreme Court after all.
Mr. Ben, you know, in Nigeria, we tend to notice that there is always a delay on decisions. I mean, even since we entered this year, 2023, there's been this reoccurrence of mentioning there will be election in November of these 3 states. But still, we're still on the back and forth on what should be done and what not should be done. What do the Nigerian government need to do in order to avoid all this? Because already there's a threat of security challenges.
Yeah, in terms of government, government has already given INEC its own money. Therefore, government, what they will do in terms of security, do deployments, ensure that you have the security operatives are so palpable, they are discernible, people can see them, so that these threats that some people would think they want to bring, they could see the security physically. But as for INEC, since excuse me, since you are giving this money and yours is to conduct this election, you've been telling us you release the timetable, follow it and follow it religiously. So on the side of government, like I said, what they can now do is just to ensure there is security over there. And for the voters in Kogi State and those who have chosen not to vote, because of course there will be, there's always the neutrals on one side. So I think they should give peace a chance. That we should have elections. It's not a war. Now, when you hear threats of war, INEC chairman is worried because of this. And of course, not just worried, they are happening. Killings are happening. I think that security agencies should bring to bear what they ought to do. Arrest, detain, and surrender them for trial.
All right, Mr. Ben, my next question would be a report practically on almost every newspaper we have reviewed this morning. I will start with an analogy. Usually when the EFCC pick up politicians and charge them to court, you hear the politician says this is witch hunt. Witch hunt in the sense that I'm not the only one doing this. Why did you choose me? Today the Senate president is defending the exotica and he said, no, stop looking at us. Look at the ministers. Is it a question of we are not the only ones corrupt? We are all in the basket together. You seem to be beaming too much satellite or not. What exactly does this response, mean to some of the queries that have been raised by Nigerians with regards to going for exotica at a time you are asking people to tie their belt?
And even complaining that the Nigerian roads are bad. It's wonderful. Sometimes on a Sunday, when you are stopped on the road and you're asked to show the roadworthiness of your car. Okay, look at it, I have it. Is also this road worthy that my car should ply on it? So it's a symbiotic kind of a thing.
So are you supposed to ask the officials to show you the roadworthiness of okay.
So now you also find those who are supposed to enjoy these exotic cars complaining that after all the roads are not too good. Whose job is it? When you ensure money is sent to some ministries, did you do the correct oversight function? Now, when the cat begins to call the kettle black, it leaves Nigerians to keep wondering. These are people who indeed we sign or we gave them a kind of a contract. You campaigned that you would do this and do that for us if you vote you in. Now you are there busy, debating as to who is a better deceiver. I think it's not the best at all. When people are looking for how to feed, people are looking for how to send their children to school, the sick are all over the place, and you are busy saying that you are not the only one having better life. Look at my neighbor. But you look at the general public in Nigeria, are they actually enjoying? I think that some people who occupy very high positions, they should just select their words carefully. Don't just drop a bombshell and begin to think thereafter, oh, I think I made a mistake. Or when some people begin to make you see the mistake you did in that kind of a statement that ordinarily shouldn't have come. You see, the Hausa man says, Shuruma Magana, if you like, I will not pass a comment. He said, any comment, I say no. It just remain and move that way, rather than passing the buck. It's not the best for those who occupy high positions in this country.
Now, with the state of the economy that is happening, do you think what they're trying to justify even makes sense? Them coming out to say that they do need the SUVs, considering we're even complaining of the cost of governance in the nation, and people are hungry to a point that people buy a cup of the grains in order to feed their family. Is SUV a necessity for these people?
Honestly, it is not a necessity. And these people already, if you check their past records, before coming to either be ministers or the lawmakers, you realize that some were governors, some were ministers, some were PAMSEC, some were directors in some ministries. They've all been government, and all this one. Now, if you now look at the convoy, how much it takes for one to fill at the tank of an SUV. Now you have 3 and some other cars following. And that fuel will finish within 2-3 days. You go back. Let us calculate and you see how much they dispense in terms of how much they spend in terms of this money. Now you juxtapose that with the Nigerian, the ordinary Nigerian, a very reasonable man walking in the street to go walk for even the ministers. I was told that even National Assembly members are planning to go on a strike. Why is it so? Because they see how much is coming into the accounts. They are the workers in that place. They know how much each is receiving, sitting allowances, this allowance, wardrobe and all that, nanny allowance, driver allowance, constituency.
The nanny for the members of the National Assembly or for their children.
You know, and so when you have all of this, the National Assembly members who are doing, the workers, they prepare the vouchers. They know all of this. So when they see this money dropping, you now see what the workers who prepared this work.
Well, in fairness, they are asking for 40 years retirement, and it appears that is going to scale. So somehow I think they are also giving them a fair share of, at the time when we are saying those who are due should go, so that other people can come into service.
Yes, and when you also look at the Sunday, this thing you call pension, those who are co-ministry, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Information, just look at them when they retire. Someone is going home with how much? 30 million, 40 million. But you now see that in CBN, Federal Inland Revenue, and some other people, you are going home with over 100 million. Does it actually make sense? Now, some people now say, okay, increase our age of retirement, and we hereby just pass a law. But those are
quasi-autonomous agencies. They don't all do the same thing, do they?
Yeah, but wait. Let's face one thing. When you say CBN, you know people's money they are keeping there.
Yes, but you don't want to pay somebody who keeps your money poorly, do you?
Well,
all right. You see another conversation. I'm not holding forth for them. I'm just thinking you can't ask me to keep money and
you should
and look richer.
And that is why when you also look at this contributory pension money. Now, you keep on sinking your money, sending it there. Government is saying they are sending their own counterpart funding there. But by the time you retire, you wait a year, you wait 2 years. Even when you are seeing your balance, you can't get anything. Some people are trading and making, nice money from it. And because the law says, yes, don't tamper with the principal, but all the interests accruing from it, you can just make your business with it. Now, the owners of the money are not seeing it, and it is there.
I think a
lot of things will have to be done by the National Assembly.
All right, moving on to other stories. Very quickly, Daily Trust reported a bandit raid in Kaduna Mosque, where we saw an imam and a worshipper killed. We had a confrontation between these people in Mina, broad daylight. We also saw one in Otuko, broad daylight, 4 p.m. in the evening. What exactly is happening with our security architecture?
Yeah, you see, this is taking some pattern. Those days that Boko Haram would strike banks day or night, cut away money to go buy, arms for their dastardly acts. I hope it's not coming back, because it's bad omen that bandits or armed robbers, or by whatever the name, terrorists, you operate and you even film yourself and release it to the public. It's like there was also a security labs failure somewhere. And we expect that even as they were operating, some cordoning of some major roads would have been done somewhere. some security agencies would have waylaid them, do some roadblocks. By the time they land there, they meet their waterloo. But when they disappear this way, it says a lot. And when
but
you
how
have
did we even get here? It's like we are going in circle. The insecurity is there. Everything is being done. There's a new chief of defense, state and federal, and it's still the same thing, or even get escalating to the worse part. How did we get here?
But yeah, you see, how did we get here is how many people among us are ready to announce their children who are engaged in this? Everybody is saying, no, in my house we are saints. But if you also look at the last 1 month, I think the security operatives appear to be on top of the situation, unlike some 2-3 months behind. You know, you could see that the attacks are becoming a kind of reduced. And I hope that the tempo will continue that way.
We all hope that we get to a point in this country where you can basically go out at any time of the day without any fear of attacks, you know, being maimed by any group or sect. We look forward to that time, and we wish our security personnel, especially our brothers and sisters who are keeping vigil to keep us all awake, all the best in this warfare. This is the much that Daybreak will bring to your stables this morning. I hope we have provided some information, some education, some entertainment, and we will continue to do this. Join us again tomorrow for another refreshing edition. I am Sunday Michael Agu.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ben Shemak, former Director of News, Voice of Nigeria. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much for staying with us on Daybreak on Trust Television. I am Sumaya Abubakar. Please do stick around for 360 Sports by Adeni Ajishafe. Stay blessed.